Hey everybody, welcome to the Boston Micro Soldering stream. We are going to try to do a real quick charger port today on an iPad Air. This guy has a cracked digitizer, cracked LCD, and a charger port that is working but really on its way out. So when we give this guy a test, I have this plugged in with a pretty good condition MFI cable. We have our reliable 2 amp power bank. And when I plug this guy in, what I'm getting is 2 amps. Fantastic, right? Well, if we even touch this cable, we'll go back down to 0 amps. If I leave it off the table where there's no pressure in either direction, we may get 2 amps, we may get nothing. Now I've taken a look at this port already. It's very clean. This is just a case of it being mechanically loose. So let me just show that a little bit closer. So we've got 2 amps, wiggle it a little bit, nothing. Nothing, 2.1 amps. Alright, so this guy definitely needs a charger port replacement rather than a cleaning. We're just going to work on the charger port on the board today. I don't really have time to do the screen, but that's okay. We can use our trusty meter here to see if the port is in good condition. So first things first, I'm going to try to turn this guy off, but I'm not sure that's quite going to work. Nope, that's okay. We can just do a battery pull. So I'm going to heat the body of this, really the entire iPad up to 75 degrees C in order to get the screen off. We're going to do this pretty quickly because we don't really care about this LCD. We're going to replace the LCD when we replace the charger port and the digitizer. We just got to worry about this home button. And just a correction, I said iPad Air, but I'm just seeing the home button on this right now. This is an iPad 5. So the iPad Air and 5 and 6 are essentially the same job. In fact, they are the same charger port. So we have our iPad Air 1, iPad 5 2017, iPad 6 2018. It's exactly the same flex cable that solders to the board. The only difference in those machines is going to be, you know, the 6 has its own digitizer, and its own LCD, and you've got the Touch ID on the 5 and the 6. iPad Air is just going to have that plastic button with the square on it. It's exactly the same job for any of them. It's more important on the 5 and the 6 to pay attention to this home button flex cable. It goes from here to here. So, you know, you don't want to cut the home button on iPad Air. But if you're, if you do damage an iPad Air home button, it's not the end of the world. It costs you $3, $5 for a new cable. Damage this flex going to the home button inside of a 5 or a 6, and well, you know, you're gonna have to replace it for your customer, and they're not gonna have Touch ID. They're not gonna have that fingerprint because you're not gonna be able to program the new part for Touch ID. So this guy's warming up. Our pad's up to 65 degrees. Glass is starting to get hot. So we can start prying this as it heats. This is one of those jobs where you do absolutely want to have gloves on, both for some heat resistance. I love the color of these gloves. It's like the most purple thing I've ever owned. I feel regal. So we can start prying this up as it cools. Now, normally with these, if you're opening an iPad for digitizer repair, for charger port repair, you want to be super careful with alcohol because you know, you don't want it getting into the backlight of the LCD. That's going to be kind of a cosmetic issue. I'm going to get this off with heat and prying first, but if I need to speed this up, I can use alcohol with no fear whatsoever because our LCD is already shot. This will be one of those few videos where I start before taking the device apart. It's going to be even slower than our normal slow video. Okay, I am starting on the side opposite the connections, the connections are to the right of the home button, so I'm starting on the extreme left of this device. Don't care if my guitar pick touches the LCD. LCD is being put in the garbage when we're done, replaced with a new one. So remember, when you're taking apart any device, especially a metal-bodied device, the whole thing's a giant aluminum heatsink. It doesn't matter whether you heat the front or you heat the back. Your goal is to heat the glue that's holding the glass to the metal, right? This is metal back tablet. It's a glass front tablet. I just need the glue in the middle of this device to be nice and soft. So it's very easy with most iPads to just lay it flat on your heat pad and work on it while you're heating it. You don't need to heat it and then put it on your desk. I can disassemble this from the front because my goal is to just heat the whole device. Okay, and plenty of cracking here, so I do have to be super careful around that home button. I do not have to be careful with my liberal use of alcohol. And I just want to lift everything from the edge of the glass. I don't want any of these little shards to go back towards the home button flex cable. I want everything to lift up together if possible. And if I'm going to take shards out individually, I want to grab the glue strip, like so, pull the glue out, and little shards will come out with the glue. I'm getting towards an edge with a lot of cracked shards. This is where a lot of danger lies with that flex cable. And where it helps to have the gloves, because I have tons of razor sharp glass stuck to my hand now. Okay. And I'm going to lift this over. See, we got our flex cable there. Remember, we don't care about this LCD. Got my whole device up to about 75 degrees Celsius right now. Okay, just gonna save my camera catch to be cleaned up later. Good time to tape off the camera. Keep that safe. And now we're getting into the area where the glass is essentially just powdered. You don't hear cracking because it's all just powder. Okay, be mindful that my rear camera is there somewhere. Don't want to dig inside the device. Okay. And the whole digitizer is released. We have our 4 corner screws for the LCD. A couple hiding under tape. And these 4 screws are not identical on most iPads. There's usually a slightly longer one next to the rear camera. But we'll just put the 4 screws in one pile and we can identify the long screw later. you're really just going into the back housing, so even if you did screw up the long and short screws, you can't really do anything. You can't cause any problems. Okay, so normally I'm going to be very carefully leveraging this out of its place like so, and when I hold it up 1/2 inch from the body, I can tilt down like so. This now gives me access to our battery, access to our LCD and digitizer. Don't need heat on this anymore. It is good to keep it hot just up until the point that you're going after the battery connector though, because our board is mostly glued down to the metal frame. There's a couple screws at the top and the bottom that hold it down, but it's really just glued down. So you want the board hot when you're trying to lift it above the battery. I'm going to put that guitar pick just under the edge of the board, below the battery connector and above the battery connector, just sitting there ready. I'm going to get plenty of alcohol under the board. Remember, this board and this housing are at about 75 degrees, so the glue underneath it is already extremely soft. We just want to soften it even more with 100% alcohol. And now I can slide my picks under, not under the battery connector, right? I'm going to the left of it and to the right of it. And you can actually kind of hear the board peeling itself up. Once it's peeled and it's a few millimeters away from the battery, I can just slide that guitar pick right under it. All right, and now we're good to remove our digitizer and LCD. Now for the big screws, we have large and small. For the LCD, our 4 LCD screws. For small screws, we have a long battery, short LCD digitizer, 1, 2, 3. So 4 small screws, one of them longer than the others, and 4 big screws, one of them longer than the others. Now a lot of times the LCD is going to be stuck to the plate, like so. So I can just take the 2 off together. We're not going to reuse this LCD, so while this is all warm, I am going to take that off. Done with our LCD for now. Time to get this home button safely out of the way, which first we can unplug our digitizers. Well, 1 digitizer, 2 plugs. And next to it we've got home button connector, covered in a little bit of tape. This gate black flips up. We can slide out, and our home button is now safe. So we'll put that off to the side. Safely out of the way, and a good time now to dump any glass shards you have on the desk or inside the iPad. Especially when you get those corner hits that are so hard, it's just powdered glass. Don't want to vacuum my screws. Okay. stuck. All right. So first things first is get everything unplugged from this board. Okay, thank you. I've talked to everybody already. On the top end, we have a plate holding down what would be a lot of the connections for the cellular. If this had a cellular antenna, this is our Wi-Fi only version. We can unplug our front camera now. Got some tape that holds this one down. Tape on the sides. So, front camera and headphone jack are out. And our microphone. You also have antennas to worry about if this was a cellular. We have our rear camera out. And then our buttons flex. Tiny little connector here on the side. All right, our board can come out from the top. Loosen that. And now it's time to release the charger port. Lots of tape first because we have to unplug our speakers. I always forget where these are, so it's good to look at the new part. We have left and right speaker connectors and the lightning port. So under a mountain of tape, going to move these Wi-Fi antenna cables out of my way. One speaker unplugged itself with the tape, and the other one's just a simple gate connection. Okay, we can use a little bit of alcohol under this flex if we need. Remember, this is the flex that we're getting rid of. And then it's just going to be the charger port screws holding it in. So we have the ones next to the port, thick screws. And we have 4 small screws that kind of sit between the port and the screen, the port and the front glass. Okay, still got a little tape holding that speaker down. Wiggle this around our Wi-Fi, and we are off. All right. So let's take a look at the connection for this charger port. We have one piece of electrical tape covering all these contacts, bottom of the board. So our first goal is we need to go over these with some leaded solder. Flux the area. And I almost forgot, we want to remove this little plastic bracket that kind of sits there as a spacer next to the board. We're going to melt this if we don't get it out of our way. And turn on the fume extractor. So I have my bevel tip with the reservoir there. I'm going to tin this up. And just gently go over every pad. What we're looking to do is basically just add the lead as an impurity to this tin solder. Lead-free. Lower its melting point. Now I'm going to use a board holder real quick, just to keep this from moving around on me. And as we hit this with hot air, we're just going to slowly peel up on the flex with almost no pressure at all. In fact, you could do this upside down and basically just rely on a little bit of gravity if you need to. Closer here myself. Okay. That's off. Let's take a look at those pads. Clean up all this glue. This is just the glue that was under the flex. Kind of sticks it down while the machine solders it. Looks like all of our pads are in good shape. scrubbing this with the alcohol pad is not going to damage anything. I just, you wouldn't want to scrub this with wick or with a hot iron. A little bit of gentle scrapey. Just because I'm obsessed with cleaning this. A closer look. Alright, each of these pads are good. By the dull texture, you can clearly tell that this is all still tin solder. The tin silver. So we are going to flux this again and go over it with leaded solder. Start with the micro pencil, just to keep the amount of overall heat down. I'm just using the rounded outside edge of my J-tip and to move this solder ball through. I am going to clean off that ball and come back with a fresh ball. By then I should be certain that most of this material has a significant portion of lead in it. But we can also just tell from the general shinier look. Okay. Let's clean this off and see if all of our pads are nice and shiny and even. Oh, we want them to be the same mound. And we can add a little bit of material to that side. Not quite puffy. And it'll help to just make sure there is a healthy portion of flux. Any more flat pads. They've all got a little bit of material on them. Alright. So time to orient our new port. L of the board like so. Our port's going to be under the motherboard, oriented this way. So let's take a look at those contacts. I've got one flat pad I want to hit. need to have a layer of flux between my charger port and the board. We are going to align this transparent hole to this dot. Same thing on this end. Once that is in place, I'm going to tape this guy down. Don't want it to move. Glove with it. Just gonna wrap that piece around. Oh. Totally lost it. Alright, and I want to tack down some opposite corners. So first things first, I'm going to hold my flex down. Flat to the board as possible. And I'm going to try to flow through this joint. Come to our other side. This all the way through. Okay. Now we can go down the line, heating 1 or 2 pads at a time. All the while, we're going to push the flex down. We want the solder to flow through these holes in pads. We're not adding solder on top. We don't care about adding solder on top. We need to flow through. over to a larger tip for a second. Go clean this up with the micro pencil again shortly. let's clean this guy up now and test it out. Already shredded the gloves. Point those. Let us test out our new port. This is with no battery, mind you. So plug in. We have it pulling 0.07 amps, 0.2 amps. This looks good. And with a battery added. Just gonna screw that down. Our battery is in, charger port is soldered. And a moment of truth. There's our 2.1 amps. All right. And we have booting. And we should go back to either 1 or 2 amps shortly, depending on the battery's condition. Once it boots. And back to 2.1 amps. All right, that's about all the time we have for today. We are going to put this back together a little later in the day with a new LCD and a new digitizer. Probably save that video for next time. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section.